I know what your aim is.
What are you talking about?
You married Adam just to get our inheritance.
Are we back to this again?
Back to it? What do you mean, back to it?
Well, Katie, it's the only thing you ever talk about every day. I don't know how you never get tired of saying the same thing over and over.
You keep acting like it's no big deal, that's why. You're so unbelievably cheeky.
Well, I'm sorry for that.
Other sons' wives are so much cuter, but we've got a complete loser.
And so, I've been hearing these things almost every day since I got married. I have to just let it go in one ear and out the other to get by. I'm Nicole, 30 years old. I've been married for 2 years and I'm a working mother. I work for a company related to my now husband Adam's at that time, and we started dating after working together several times. Before we got married, he always seemed considerate, gentlemanly, and kind. When he proposed, I thought he was the one. When I was in the 3rd grade, I lost both of my parents in an accident. I was raised by my uncle and aunt, but my aunt often treated me poorly. My uncle couldn't stand up to her, and when I told him I was leaving after graduating high school, he looked relieved. Since then, we've been out of touch. At the family meeting, Adam's in-laws seemed nice, and I thought we could get along well. We were told we didn't have to live with them, but a month before our wedding, Adam's father, Robert, passed away suddenly. My mother-in-law Katie was left alone, so we decided to live with her. At the family meeting, she had always been smiling and seemed kind, so I thought things would go smoothly, but that was a big mistake. It was like she was wearing a mask before. After we got married, she became a completely different person. She criticized everything, from how I cleaned to how I did the laundry and cooked. You can't do anything right. What have you been doing all your life? Kids without parents are just useless. She said things like that every day. I've been hearing similar things since I was a child. Especially from my aunt, who said them all the time, but since I depended on her, I couldn't talk back. I thought, here we go again, but this time, I don't owe her anything. I don't have to keep quiet anymore. I'm not the type to silently endure things. My late mother was someone who always spoke her mind, and I remember that clearly. At first, I held back to avoid conflict, but gradually, I started to speak up more. Partly because Adam never stood up for me.
Hey, can you say something to Katie? She complains about everything I do.
Mom's lonely since Dad passed away.
That doesn't mean she can take it out on me. You're her son, you should be the one to comfort her. I have work, I can't handle that. I'm exhausted from dealing with stuff at the office, I can't deal with her moods too.
I work too, you know. And she's your mom.
What are you talking about? You're my wife now, so she's your mom too.
Adam just made excuses. 3 months into our marriage, he stopped doing any housework.
You said we'd share chores before we got married, but now you do nothing. That was for when it was just the two of us. Now my mom's here, she can do my part. It's fine. She just complains and doesn't help with anything. Once you get used to Dad being gone, you'll manage just fine. Besides, if I step in to help, she will only give you more grief.
In the beginning, when Adam stood in the kitchen, Katie would comment on it. She would say that having her husband do housework was a failure as a wife or something like that. In this day and age, where dual-income couples are the norm, she just doesn't get it, or perhaps she does, but she just wants to give me a hard time. She acts like her son's wife should be a housekeeper or something. Adam doesn't say anything, so her comments just escalate. I can't help but wonder where the considerate Adam I knew before marriage has gone.
That's just normal. Everyone changes between home and outside. You're family now, So of course, you won't be treated the same as before marriage. What is that supposed to mean?
Honestly, it feels like fraud. To think there could be such a difference between someone's outward appearance and their true self.
Stop nagging. It's annoying.
There it is, his infuriating catchphrase. Whenever something happens,
It's annoying.
Adam always says. He is incredibly lazy. He doesn't speak up to Katie not because he sides with her, but because it's too much trouble for him. He just tells me to handle things casually. I try to, but sometimes I just can't stand it. Even so, with Adam dodging everything I say, I've gradually stopped saying anything at all. But about 6 months into the marriage, Katie started calling me a gold digger at every turn. She probably says that because Robert passed away before we got married. It's not like there's a vast fortune or anything. What she is talking about is Robert's retirement money. But since getting married, it became clear that she is quite the spendthrift. Even with his pension, she buys one thing after another, making me wonder if they're really okay financially. I doubt there's much of an inheritance left at this point. The house was under Robert's name, but now it's in Katie and Adam's joint names. I don't think it's been remodeled since it was built. The design is old, the kitchen is small and awkward to use, and there are many steps between rooms. The stairs to the second floor are narrow and steep. The exterior walls have cracks, so if they plan to live there long-term, major renovations are necessary. On top of that, the house is off a side street from the main road, and it doesn't have a garage, so they have to rent parking space monthly. It's not even a house anyone would be eager to live in, and I doubt it has much value as an asset. So when Katie calls me a gold digger, I feel like saying, "What inheritance are you talking about?" I never relied on such things from the start. I've told her this countless times, but she never listens.
You're just waiting for me to die, aren't you?
I am not.
Of course you are. You think you'll get all the inheritance once I'm gone.
There's no way I would think that. Besides, someone like you, Katie, won't get to heaven that easily. Even God wouldn't want you there.
Is that something you say to your mother-in-law?
I believe I'm speaking quite politely. I'm showing a lot of restraint because it's you, Katie.
You're such an insolent person.
Maybe my constant rebuttals are what make her even angrier, but I'm sorry. Apologizing doesn't make her snide remarks disappear. Then, the only option is to get through it without accumulating too much stress. At first, I thought, since we got married by fate, maybe we could somehow make it work. But Adam is not cooperative at all, and Katie only has sarcasm and complaints. She even called me a gold digger, making me question if there's any point in continuing this marriage. People think Adam is a considerate and good husband outside, but at home, he just lounges around. The more he smiles outside, the more moody he gets at home, completely ignoring Katie's nasty comments towards me. The Adam I imagined before marriage is now a completely different person. We don't have kids, and I was thinking maybe it's better to just separate. Then Katie made another baseless accusation.
Hey Nicole, have you seen my necklace?
No, I haven't.
You're lying. I left it on the table yesterday, and now it's gone. There's no way Adam would wear it.
Of course not.
That means there's no one else in this house who could have taken it but you.
I don't care about your stuff, Katie. It's not my style.
That necklace was really expensive. You must have stolen it and sold it somewhere. I don't know anything about it. You're stealing my things because I'm not sharing the inheritance with you.
I never expected any of Robert's things to be mine anyway.
That was something Robert bought me. It was very important to me.
Even if you say that, I don't know anything about it. What kind of person accuses someone of stealing? She must be saying this because my calm reaction to her daily sarcasm doesn't bother me. She always finds something new to accuse me of. Just when I was thinking this,
Hey, enough already.
Adam chimed in.
What are you talking about? Mom was crying, saying you stole precious mementos from Dad, and not just one or two.
Well, I have no idea about what she is talking about.
There's only Mom, you, and me in this house. She wouldn't steal from herself, and I have no clue, so that leaves you. What? Are you accusing me of stealing too? I'm not saying that, but maybe as payback?
Payback for what?
For all the snide remarks Mom makes towards you, maybe you hid them out of spite?
I would never do something that childish.
If you just return them, I won't say anything more. Especially Dad's expensive watch, I plan to keep that one. Excuse me?
So, he's accusing me because the expensive watch he wanted is missing? He always pretends not to see anything, calling it troublesome.
After Dad died, I was planning to take it right away, but Mom said she wanted to keep it for a while as a memory, so it stayed with her. I told you, I don't know.
What's with these accusations? He believes Katie, but not me. I can't take this anymore.
Your wife is being called a thief, and you didn't defend me?
It's not that serious. If I argue, it'll just get more complicated. Just agreeing and letting it go keeps things calm. Nothing is calm at all. What about my feelings? You can't just brush everything off as a hassle. But even if I say that to him, nothing will change.
Fine, I get it. Let's get a divorce. What? I don't want to live with someone who doesn't trust or protect me anymore.
Divorce? Divorce means we'd have to notify the company and deal with a lot of paperwork. It's such a hassle. I couldn't help but think, is that really what you're worried about? I expected a different reaction from him after bringing up divorce, but I felt indifferent. It seemed I had no love left for him.
I'm tired of Katie's constant harassment.
I see. Well, if that's the case, then divorce it is.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I don't want to deal with any messy arguments. Trying to stop you would be even more troublesome, and if it led to mediation or court, it would be the worst. Although I thought, here we go with the hassle again, it was fine if he agreed to the divorce easily. So, we don't need to divide assets, right? It's a hassle. Your savings are yours, and mine are mine. Since we got married, we split the living expenses, so we didn't know each other's salary. We split the utility and food bills equally.
Fine, that's okay.
So, we just need to sign the divorce papers. Oh, but don't we need a witness's signature for that? Finding someone for that is a hassle. I'll find someone, so you just need to sign the papers. Got it, thanks. It was surprising, but we decided on the divorce quite easily. I wondered what these 2 years of marriage had been for. I asked him to wait until I packed and found a new place to live. When I said I'd tell Katie about the divorce then, he agreed easily. I didn't want her to find out before I left and cause trouble. During the packing period, I aimed to keep things calm. Oh, things keep disappearing from the house. It's really annoying having a thief in the house. No matter what I said, it wouldn't get through to him. I decided to ignore it, thinking just a little more patience was needed. Why don't you say something? Or are you going to confess that you married Adam for the inheritance?
What's wrong with you? I can't take it anymore. Get out, thief!
Understood. I had nearly finished packing, and I'd just found a new place to live. Although it felt like Katie was kicking me out, I left as she said. The next day, Adam called me, but I didn't think there was anything left to talk about, so I ignored it until he called repeatedly. Finally, I answered.
Hey, what are you doing? Answer the phone already.
It was a hassle.
What?
Just kidding, that's your usual line. I wanted to say it once.
Don't joke around. Mom's in trouble.
What's wrong with Katie?
She's been arrested for theft.
Oh, that's serious. You should go to the police and find out what's going on. Are you at the police station now?
Not yet.
Why? This is a big deal for Katie. Oh, I get it. Going there is a hassle.
That's part of it.
I couldn't believe he actually admitted it. I thought, can you really say it's a hassle when your parent is arrested? Honestly, I didn't care about this family anymore.
I think it's a mistake, but if it's not, I'm scared. Please, you go.
No.
What?
Why should I do something so troublesome for someone else?
Someone else?
We're divorced.
Well, that's true, but just this once.
I don't care. Why would I help someone who said it was too much trouble to help me when I needed it? Besides, I don't think her theft is a mistake.
Huh?
Just the other day, a neighbor came to me for advice. Katie and I have known each other for a long time, but lately, every time Katie comes over, things go missing. Because we live close by and have known each other for a long time, they didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but they wanted to stop seeing Katie. If that's the case, maybe you should just stop seeing her. I had replied. And then there was yesterday. When I went to the parking lot to leave my house, my car was gone. Thinking it was stolen, I called the police. That car was something I had bought before I got married, and it was still in my name. Last night, the police called to say they had found my car at a neighbor's house. It turns out Katie had used it as collateral for a loan. The house where the car was found had an old car that finally stopped working, and they were waiting for a new car to be delivered, which would take a few days. Katie had offered to let them use my car until their new car arrived. Of course, they refused, but Katie left it there anyway and said the loan would be canceled in exchange for 1 month's rental fee. Apparently, Katie owed them money. Pawning someone else's car for rental fees, how bold can you be? Of course, I went to get my car immediately. So when I heard Katie was arrested for theft, I wasn't surprised. When I told Adam about it, he was speechless. When I asked if someone in the neighborhood had pressed charges, the police said she was arrested for shoplifting. Oh my. There's nothing we can do about it now. Being arrested for shoplifting means she was caught red-handed, no excuses. How could she have called me a thief? She is the real thief.
Oh my, this isn't the time to be so relaxed. If this is true.
She was arrested, so it's definitely true.
Then, go to the supermarket and pay to settle it. Who would do such a troublesome thing for someone else? You and I are no longer connected, and she is even less so. Goodbye. That's...
People can't always run away from their troubles. She'll learn that lesson firsthand because of her mother. A little while later, Adam called again. I was curious about what he had to say and what had happened to Katie, so I answered. Apparently, she was a habitual shoplifter at the supermarket, and she had been caught before but was let go after crying and begging. She had said,
"My mean daughter-in-law takes all my pension, and I have nothing to eat."
The store owner had felt sorry for her and let her go. Hearing that made me even angrier. But after several more incidents, the store owner couldn't take it anymore and called the police. She thought she could get away with it again by crying. Moreover, she had already spent Robert's retirement money. Robert worked for a small company, and by the time he retired, the company's performance had declined significantly, so his retirement money was only around $50,000. The only valuable thing left was a luxury watch the company had given him as a retirement gift. The retirement money was gone within a year of Robert's death, and it turned out that Katie had sold everything she claimed was missing from our house to get cash. The watch Adam had his eye on was the first to go. But Katie couldn't admit she sold it, so she probably said I took it. Before Adam could find out, she tried to frame me for stealing everything and get me kicked out. It was ridiculous, and Adam was devastated when he found out the truth.
My watch,
Adam said, and I wanted to ask if that's all he cared about, but his next words shocked me even more. After repaying the money Katie had borrowed and covering the stuff she stole from neighbors, Adam's savings were gone, and he even had new debts.
So let's split the assets. What are you talking about? We agreed not to split the assets.
If you think about it, you're earning more now, right?
Your company's doing better than mine. So, you probably saved more money than I have. Savings made during our marriage are shared property. You said it was too much hassle to calculate all that. At the time, I thought Dad's money was still there, and I didn't care. But things have changed. I don't care what you say now.
I was glad I had the foresight to have him sign papers saying we wouldn't divide the assets.
Then how about we get back together? What?
And we can work together to pay off the debts as a couple. Is he crazy? An idiot. I'd love to see any woman who would go for that. I was too tired to deal with it, so I just hung up the phone without saying anything. I couldn't deal with him anymore. In the end, Katie was prosecuted but got off with a fine because she paid restitution, though she now had a criminal record. They sold the house to pay off the debts, but it was old and inconvenient. The house itself had no value, it was just the land that was worth something, but since it was in an alley where cars couldn't go, they didn't get much for it. They didn't pay off the debt, and now they live in a cheap apartment and are struggling. I ignored his calls, so he started sending endless texts. After seeing how things turned out for them, I blocked all his contacts, so now I don't have to deal with annoying calls or texts. Since I kept working, my life hasn't been affected at all. In fact, being alone feels refreshing. Thinking about living a stress-free life now makes me more motivated for work. I'm determined to keep going and not let anything get me down. Because it's already decided. This was my husband Connor's catchphrase. Our in-laws' house doubles as a home office for a construction business, with Connor and my father-in-law Mason often out on cable installation jobs during the day, leaving the house empty. My name is Emma. I used to work as an accounting clerk at a certain company, but recently, my mother-in-law Olivia started making mistakes with invoice numbers and payment recipients due to her farsightedness. So, I quit my job to live and handle the accounting at the in-laws' house. The arrangement was supposed to be that Olivia would take over the household chores in exchange, but in reality, she started spending her newfound free time on hobbies and stopped doing any housework at all. I have a daughter, Sophia, who's in elementary school, so avoiding chores like cleaning and cooking wasn't an option for me. Reluctantly, I ended up taking on all the household duties since I was home the most. Thanks to you, Emma, I can take it easy. I really appreciate it. Olivia would say this with a light thanks, but whenever I asked her to take out the trash or if she had gathered the newspapers to throw away, she'd complain of a bad back and wouldn't lift a finger. I kept thinking, your only issue is supposed to be your eyesight, as I ended up doing everything myself. Maybe my attitude let the entire in-laws think they could get away with anything. Connor and Olivia started to ask me for various favors after the fact.
Oh, Emma. From next week for 2 weeks, we're taking care of the grandkids, so I'm counting on you.
This was suddenly announced at the dinner table, and I was taken aback.
Olivia, which grandkids?
When I asked for clarification, Olivia calmly replied,
Amelia's kids. You know, school's out for summer next week. Her kids love the pool, and they've been nagging about going every day. We have a pool nearby, so Emma, you take them, okay? What?
I must have looked puzzled. Olivia lectured me with a stern look.
Amelia, she always hated swimming. It would be cruel to make her accompany her kids to a pool she dislikes every day. It's fine if you goes with them. Amelia has been having a tough time since she got married. We want to make things a bit easier for her when she comes back home.
I was irked at being inconvenienced, but thought that if my sister-in-law Amelia was coming, maybe having her clean or cook occasionally would lighten my load a bit. So, I reluctantly agreed, forgetting about her personality. Once back at the in-laws' house, Amelia began to treat me almost like a housekeeper. On the first day of summer break, she arrived and said,
Here, a souvenir.
And handed me a bag full of contents.
Amelia, what's this?
As I opened the bag and saw it was filled with clothes, I asked. Amelia looked at me and said,
Clothes for laundry. I thought I'd have them washed at my parents' home. With 2 kids, laundry piles up. Make sure to wash them soon so we don't run out of clothes to wear,
she said rapidly and then left for Olivia and Mason's place. What is this? I'm not a housekeeper. I was about to protest, but lost the will when I saw Amelia chatting happily with Mason. I figured any complaints would just be defended by Olivia. I thought, it's just for 2 weeks, I can endure it, but never imagined Connor would betray me too. As I scrambled with the breakfast preparations for the suddenly increased number of people, the doorbell rang early in the morning. Wondering who could it be this early, I went to the door and found my brother-in-law Matthew and his wife Charlotte, with their son Liam in tow. Without a greeting, Charlotte pushed Liam forward and said,
So, we'll be leaving him with you for 2 weeks. We're off to the sea for diving, so we might be hard to reach by phone. Just text us if you need anything.
Leaving Liam behind, Matthew and Charlotte made to leave, but I hurriedly stopped them.
What do you mean, leaving him with me? I haven't been informed about this.
Charlotte looked irritated, but Matthew tilted his head slightly and enlightened me.
Huh? Didn't Connor tell you? Amelia's dropping off her kids, and he suggested your place too. I was worried it'd be too much trouble, but Connor said having 2 or 3 makes no difference.
I blurted out in frustration.
There's no way that's okay. It's troubling to have you show up unannounced like this.
Then, from behind, a voice said,
Ah, they're here. Good. Leave Liam here. In return, bring back some liquor as a souvenir.
Connor didn't look at me, only speaking to Matthew and Charlotte. Matthew and Charlotte, ignoring me just the same, started speaking. We appreciate it. You can count on Connor. Thanks in advance, Charlotte said in a sweet voice, then Matthew.
Connor does love his liquor. Thanks, we'll leave it to you.
Laughed, waved his hand, and quickly got into the car and drove off. Connor, fond of liquor, seemed to have agreed to take Liam in exchange for some. Shocked by the situation, I forgot Liam was there and couldn't help but confront Connor.
Hey, what's this about? Why did you tell Matthew we could take him without asking?
But Connor seemed genuinely clueless about why I was angry.
Why are you so mad? It doesn't make a difference whether it's 3 kids or 4. Sophia will be happy to have plenty of playmates during summer break.
He was saying this as if 3 active boys and the quiet Sophia could play together as equals. There was much I wanted to say, but seeing Liam standing there, looking forlornly in the direction Matthew and Charlotte had gone. I couldn't bring myself to complain any further. Connor, wanting to avoid further discussion,
"It's already decided,"
said curtly and went inside the house. Reluctantly, I took Liam by the hand and welcomed him into the in-laws' house. The 2 weeks taking care of 3 nephews were hellish. From morning to night, I was in the kitchen, trying to satisfy the appetites of growing boys. I tried several times to get Amelia to take over, but she refused to budge from in front of the TV. If I persisted, I ended up being scolded by Olivia.
"Amelia is always exhausted from taking care of her 2 boys. Let her be treated as a guest while she's here."
Mason and Connor nodded along with Olivia's words, leaving me without allies. But Amelia's kids were brothers, so they managed to entertain themselves, which was somewhat of a relief. The real trouble was Matthew's son, Liam. Liam, envious of Amelia's kids for having their mom around, didn't dare act up because they were older and would retaliate. Presumably with that in mind, Liam started taking out his frustration on Sophia in secret. Moreover, he was secretly being mean to Sophia, so I was completely unaware of it. I was too busy with the accounting work for our business, meals, laundry, and supervising trips to the pool to notice, but that's no excuse. Sophia confided in me about Liam's bullying the following year, after Olivia and Connor announced at dinner that they would be taking in the nephews again.
"Amelia says she's counting on us for this summer again. She wants her kids taken to the pool like last year. Also, she wants to go on a trip with just the ladies during the summer break. So I'll be traveling with her. Mason, we'll be away for a couple of days, okay?"
Olivia discussed taking in the nephews without seeking my agreement, oddly turning the conversation to Mason. Mason, his face flushed from the evening's drinks, "Have a good trip," smiled and said. As I sat there, dreading a repeat of last year's pool and home routine.
"Oh, I forgot to mention Matthew too. They want to go on a diving trip abroad this time, just the 2 of them,"
Connor added. I glared at Connor in irritation, but as usual,
"It's already decided,"
he simply said. As I was resigning myself to another 2 weeks of endurance, I noticed something was off with Sophia sitting next to me. She had stopped eating, was looking down, pale and trembling. "What's wrong, Sophia? Are you feeling okay?" "No, it's nothing." She clearly wasn't okay. But Sophia, like me, tends to bear with unpleasant things in front of others. Knowing this about Sophia, I went to her room after dinner to talk, and by the time we finished, my face was red with anger.
"Sophia, is that true? Liam did that to you at the pool?"
When I asked, Sophia, her eyes brimming with tears, nodded. "Yes, Mom. When we go to the pool, Liam always clings to me, pinching my back and bottom. Even when I tell him it hurts and to stop, he doesn't." I must have been so distracted by Amelia's noisy kids that I neglected to keep a closer watch on Sophia. Sophia added, as I regretted not noticing at all. "Even when we come back from the pool, he enters my room without permission and roughly plays with my dolls. He doesn't stop even when I ask him to." I remembered sewing back the arm of a teddy bear I found almost torn off while cleaning her room, thinking I'd have to remind Sophia to be careful. I never realized that was Liam's doing. "Mom, I don't want to spend another summer vacation with Liam or Amelia's kids. They both try to make me write their diaries." I recalled Amelia expressing her relief when leaving our house.
"I'm so glad the boys finished their homework."
Was happy. Sophia is mature and smart beyond her years, but even so, to have a younger child do their homework is unacceptable. I deeply regretted thinking it was enough just to endure it myself. Because I kept silent and resigned, Sophia ended up suffering even more. Looking into Sophia's reddened eyes, I made a promise.
This summer vacation, I won't let Liam or Amelia's kids hurt you ever again. Trust me, okay?
Hugging Sophia, I resolved to protect her this time for sure. Connor, with his habit of saying it's already decided, was unreliable. With that in mind, I made a call, hoping for help. And on the day before summer vacation, Sophia and I quietly packed and called a cab right after breakfast.
Oh. A cab? How odd, did Amelia and the others arrive a day early?
Olivia wondered aloud, to which I cheerfully responded.
That was me who called it. This summer, Sophia and I decided to spend at my parents' home. So, that's that.
As Sophia and I headed for the door, a flustered Connor chased after us.
Emma, what are you doing? Who's going to look after the nephews when they arrive? You took them in last year, why change your mind now?
Frustrated, I retorted.
You say took them in, but it was after the fact, wasn't it? I never agreed to it.
To Connor's complaints, I had only one thing to say.
We're spending it at my parents' home. It's already decided.
With that, we quickly got into the cab and headed straight for my parents' home. My parents welcomed Sophia and me warmly. Sophia, glad you could come. I made pudding, want some? My mom offered, and my dad added.
Sophia prefers chips over pudding, right? How about going to buy some with Grandpa?
He tries to take her out with a sweet face. Olivia and Mason, who doted on the nephews, made Sophia feel cherished for the first time in a while. After she went to bed, I explained the whole situation to my parents. I had briefed them when I decided we'd return to my parents' home, but now I felt the need to share everything to ensure they'd be on our side if Olivia or Connor tried to take us back. The guilt of not noticing Sophia's suffering spilled over as I talked.
Emma, don't be so hard on yourself. It's understandable you didn't notice with all the care you were providing to those boys every day.
Mom comforted me, but Dad's reaction was different. Fond of Sophia, Dad was genuinely angry for the first time in a while.
That's right. It's not your fault. Olivia and Connor, who dumped all the childcare on you, are to blame too. They should have noticed Sophia's unhappiness. Right?
Connor, perhaps influenced by Olivia or simply insensitive, often told me he wished for a son over a daughter. I figured he wouldn't have done anything even if Sophia had complained about Liam's bullying. While talking with my parents, my mobile phone rang. Expecting it to be either Olivia or Connor, I answered the phone. Sure enough, it was Olivia, who angrily said,
Emma, what's this about leaving the household chores and running off to your parents' home as Connor's wife? Come back first thing tomorrow morning, understood?
Olivia's shrill voice seemed to be heard by my parents nearby, as they frowned. Suddenly, Dad grabbed my mobile phone and started talking to Olivia.
I can't stay silent on this. You say as Connor's wife, but doesn't Amelia have a husband too? Yet, when she visits her parents' home, you insist Emma treats her like a guest, allowing her to relax. But you're saying she doesn't have the same right?
Olivia, caught off guard by my dad's sharp retort, stuttered.
Well, that's not. I mean, then what do you mean?
You could almost see Olivia scrambling for words on the other end. As my mom and I exchanged looks and chuckled, it seemed Olivia handed the phone to Connor nearby.
I'm sorry, but the nephews are coming over tomorrow, and there's nobody to look after them during the day. Could you at least ask Emma to come back?
Connor's request left me feeling disappointed inside. So, they were planning to dump the babysitting on me after all. Connor and Olivia probably didn't want to admit to Amelia and Matthew that they couldn't take the nephews after all. Dad was unyielding in his response to Connor.
So, you made a promise and now you want to leave everything to Emma? Besides, aren't Olivia and Amelia at your house? What are they doing all day?
Connor mumbled something indistinct. Of course. He couldn't admit to spending the day watching TV or out at classes in this situation. Dad cheerfully offered a solution.
Well, if you're in trouble, I can't ignore it. They're relatives, after all, Amelia and Matthew's kids. I'll handle it,
Dad said with a mischievous grin. Knowing Dad, Mom and I understood he was up to something, but Connor took his words at face value. Thinking Dad would convince me to return to the in-laws' house.
Thank you, please do,
Connor repeated before hanging up. The rest of the story comes from what Dad told us about his 2 weeks at the in-laws' house. Dad showed up early in the morning at the in-laws' house, claiming to be my replacement, and got everyone up for morning exercises. Dad was a former middle school PE teacher, known for handling students with tough behavior, leading both physical education and disciplinary actions for years. With a stern face and a commanding voice, Dad had Mason and Connor following orders, trembling. Even when Amelia and Matthew arrived, Dad didn't flinch, lining the kids up in the yard for exercise. Charlotte tried to complain, but Dad loudly proclaimed,
"What business do you have leaving children behind for an overseas trip?"
His voice echoed so loudly that she quickly left, probably worried about the neighbors' opinions. After ordering Olivia to make breakfast, Dad took the children to the park for a 2-kilometer run. Coaxing reluctant kids,
"If you don't do this, I won't take you to the pool,"
Dad said, and he reluctantly ran.
"You have a growing child, so you should include more vegetables and protein,"
and making sure they ate everything without complaints. Connor and Mason didn't defend Olivia but quietly ate and seemed to rush off to work. While gathering the kids for homework, telling Amelia to clean and do laundry.
"Why do you have to come to your parents' home and do that? It's not a joke,"
Amelia refused and complained to Dad, saying, letting the kids catch bugs at the park after a run. And how leaving sweaty, muddy clothes and bug eggs around would invite trouble. Bug-hating Amelia screamed and went to get the vacuum. This way, Dad seemed to be training the in-laws hard. Starting the morning with exercise, studying in the cool morning, not allowing playtime in the pool but making them do laps, improving all the kids' swimming times. Liam had no time for mischief, focusing solely on swimming. After summer, the kids were tanned and looked sharp, while all adults were worn out. During summer, I ignored SOS messages from Connor, not replying because they didn't reflect on their actions. Only asking for Dad to leave or for me to return for their convenience. Since the parents said it's okay to stay at the parents' home indefinitely, I decided not to return to the in-laws' house to protect Sophia's smile. I hope Connor realizes his mistakes soon, but if not, divorce is the only option. Fortunately, my former workplace has contacted me about returning, so supporting Sophia alone after divorce won't be an issue. Looking at Sophia playing with the parents, I felt it was good not to endure this summer. My name is Scarlett. While jogging around the neighborhood, I witnessed Mom scattering ashes from an urn with my name on it, calling out my name. Currently living with my Aunt Hannah due to various reasons. I had grievances against Mom but chose peace over revenge. However, seeing Mom cry out, "Why did God take Scarlett away?" brought back painful memories, prompting me to appear before her. Relatives looked shocked, and Mom turned pale, mumbling in confusion since they thought I was dead.
What?
In confusion. Because here I am, alive and well, when she thought I was gone. To Mom, I said,
"Are you doing all this just to get attention and sympathy from people? Or wait, this bone is fake, right? It's because of stuff like this that you ended up in jail and yet you never learn."
And with that, I walked away, leaving her behind. Behind me, I could hear Mom being grilled by relatives.
"Scarlett is alive, isn't she? What's going on?"
I thought she was always sick, but she looked so healthy. It felt incredibly satisfying. The old mom used to take me to cute cafes in popular parks, dress me in cute clothes, and do my hair in cute styles. She was also conscious about eating organic, so our meals were always more stylish and expensive than most families. Up to this point, she seemed like a wonderful mom. But on social media, she pretended to be the perfect mom with a wonderful family, while in reality, she did the opposite. When she took photos of me outside, she would say,
"I don't want your clothes to get dirty or for you to get a weird tan. It would decrease your value. Let's go home."
She forced me home. When we went to a cafe, after taking a photo of me with a cake, she'd say,
"Eating something so high in calories will make you obese."
And we'd leave without eating the cake she ordered. At home, she'd pretend we were eating organic by transferring supermarket deli food into fancy dishes and posting it as homemade. Dad couldn't stand her obsession with social media and disappeared when I was young, leaving me in a fatherless home. Mom was supposed to be a housewife on social media, but in reality, she was juggling several part-time jobs. Still, she clung to living in a fancy high-rise apartment for the likes of social media, making me struggle daily for food. While she played the role of a kind mom online, away from the camera, our home was a mess, and she hardly took care of me or the house. When I tried to talk to her because I wanted her attention, she'd say,
"I'm busy with social media now. Don't talk to me. Actually, don't come near me. It's creepy."
She treated me like a nuisance. Back then, I just wanted her praise, turning myself into a doll for her social media. Living like this, I was quickly pointed out at my school's health examination for being too small. It made sense since the most nutrition I got was from school lunches, given the lack of decent meals at home. Mom and I had to see a nutritionist. Where she,
"To be honest, I've been hiding this from the school, but Scarlett has always been frail. She once was hospitalized for a heart condition, then developed asthma. It was tough. She's only just started to move around recently, so could we maybe watch her condition a bit longer?"
tearfully claimed. For the record, I've never had heart disease or asthma, nor was I particularly sickly. But the nutritionist, seeing Mom's tears, believed every word.
"That must have been hard for you."
And with sympathy, she spoke kindly to Mom. At that moment, while Mom was covering her face with her hands and sobbing, to me, it looked like she was clearly laughing. Looking back, she probably felt good about being seen as a diligent mother nursing her sick daughter by the nutritionist. After that, Mom started doing various things to make me sick. Not feeding me was just the beginning. She would douse me in cold water while I was naked, pull out my hair, and keep me from sleeping to weaken my body. Despite my pleas to stop, Mom would say,
"You just need to do as I say. Not listening makes you a bad child."
And inflicted violence where it couldn't be seen. On social media, Mom began playing the role of the unfortunate mother with a sick daughter, saying,
"My daughter has an unidentified illness. I'm doing everything I can for her, but she's not getting better."
And started asking for donations to help me. After the donations apparently went well, Mom quit her job one day. During the day, she clung to me.
"You're sick. It's an incurable disease,"
chanting. Naturally, I couldn't go to school anymore, and that's when I truly felt my life was in danger. The one who saved me was Hannah. Hannah had always been worried about Mom's addiction to social media. So, she often admonished Mom, saying,
"Stop just trying to look good on social media, and take a good look at Scarlett."
But Mom never accepted Hannah's words. Just in case, Hannah kept an eye on Mom's social media. When she saw a post about me having a strange illness, Hannah contacted Mom.
"Is Scarlett okay? I want to visit her,"
saying, "But Mom,
"Don't come over, it would be a nuisance. Scarlett has a disease that gets worse if she meets anyone other than me,"
replied to Hannah. Afterward, feeling something was off, Hannah decided to visit our house. When Hannah arrived, it happened to be when Mom was out shopping. Though Mom had told me never to answer the door even if the bell rang, I couldn't help but cry out from my bed when I knew it was Hannah.
"I'm hungry, help me,"
shouting. Hearing that, Hannah instructed me to unlock the door, so I desperately unlocked the front door. Seeing my condition, Hannah was in tears and speechless. After all, I was extremely thin from being fed very little by Mom, hadn't been allowed to shower, and wasn't even allowed to go to the toilet, so I was in diapers. Shocked by the bizarre scene, Hannah immediately called the police and an ambulance. Later, as I was being taken to the hospital by the ambulance, Mom returned from shopping and tried to take me back, saying,
"Give Scarlett back. I need her. She's sick. She needs to be cared for at home, not at the hospital."
But she was restrained by the police who arrived later. Afterwards, hospital tests revealed severe malnutrition and several broken ribs. Conversely, none of the incurable diseases Mom had mentioned on social media were found. Since then, I hadn't seen Mom. I remember bursting into tears from the emotion of eating a proper meal for the first time in a long time at the hospital. Continuing with meals and rehabilitation, I was discharged from the hospital. When I was discharged, it wasn't Mom who came to pick me up, but Hannah. Since then, I've been living with Hannah, her husband, and their children. At first, having been through so much with Mom, I was full of anxiety about living with strangers, but Hannah's family was very warm, and I quickly became close to them as family. Especially Hannah, who scolded and praised me like her own daughter. I admired her like a real mom. But sometimes, I wondered how Mom was doing, yet I couldn't bring myself to ask. Remembering her would bring back too many memories and nearly send me into a panic. Hannah never talked to me about Mom either, so before I knew it, about 10 years had passed. When I got into the university I had hoped for and was about to start living on my own, I finally mustered the courage to ask Hannah about Mom. Hannah was a bit surprised when I asked about Mom, but then she didn't hide what had happened to her. Mom was taken away by the police for not feeding me and likely causing my fractures through violence. Later, she was charged with assault and other crimes and ended up in prison for about 3 years. At first, "When I get out, I'll live with Scarlett again. We'll be happy this time," she said. But while in prison, she fell in love with a male guard, it seems, and said,
"I've found new happiness. Scarlett will just be in the way now, so I'll give her up,"
and relinquished her parental rights. So when Mom was released, she disappeared without coming to pick me up. Thanks to that, even after Mom was released, I could continue to stay with Hannah. Of course, I felt hatred towards Mom, but more than that, I decided it was better to enjoy my life now with Hannah and her family, who saved me, and I stopped bringing up Mom. Years into my university studies, living with my feelings towards Mom sealed away, I encountered the scene mentioned earlier. Remembering my resentment towards Mom, I couldn't help but speak up. I'm surprised I didn't lash out physically. Mom's relatives knew what she had done to me, so the relatives I encountered with Mom earlier were from my disappeared dad's side. The relatives seemed to not recognize me at first when I spoke to Mom. But I have a birthmark on my forehead that's usually covered by my bangs. When I showed it, the relatives who knew me realized immediately that I was Scarlett. I don't know whose bone Mom had, but I decided I didn't want any further involvement with her. A few days later, Dad's relatives contacted Hannah's house, asking if she knew Mom's whereabouts. Naturally, Hannah didn't know where Mom was and said so, but at that time, she was told about Mom's recent strange behavior by the relatives. Apparently, Mom had been telling Dad's relatives for a while that Scarlett has contracted an incurable disease and doesn't have long to live. I need financial support for her treatment so she can live a little longer. With the demeanor of an actress as usual. Mom originally hated Dad, who had disappeared, so she had never tried to interact with Dad's relatives. So, when Mom came begging, the relatives were very shaken. But feeling guilty over Dad abandoning his wife and child and disappearing, they ended up supporting her with a total of about $100,000. Again, I have never had an incurable disease. Despite receiving the money, Mom wouldn't even allow them to visit me, gradually increasing the relatives' suspicion towards her. The next step Mom took was to pretend that I had died. Thinking that if I was gone from this world, the relatives couldn't complain, she later reported to them that I had passed away. Mom claimed she wanted a funeral with just the two of us and reported back to the relatives after finishing the ceremony. The relatives, though somewhat suspicious of Mom, attended my scattering ceremony, thinking she wouldn't fake cremains. During the scattering, Mom was sobbing. We used to play together by this river. So, I wanted her to be free here in the end. Saying, for the record, I have no memory of playing with Mom by that river. But Mom's acting convinced the relatives, and some were moved to tears, sympathizing with her. Then, as if I had descended from heaven, I appeared, revealing Mom's lie, and the relatives demanded their money back. However, Mom escaped from the relatives' questioning and has since disappeared. So now, the relatives are looking for anyone who knows about Mom, which is why they contacted Hannah. After hearing the relative's story,
Given that you've run into Scarlett now, she might come looking for you. I think you should move to a more secure place as soon as possible,
Hannah said to me. Even though I had just moved in not too long ago, to avoid meeting Mom again, I decided to move to an apartment farther away. Having finished packing and feeling hungry, I went out to buy some food. On my way, I heard an eerily high voice.
Scarlett, I've finally found you.
Slowly turning around, there was Mom with a sleazy smile. The Mom I knew always kept herself well-groomed and looked younger than other moms of my classmates, but the Mom standing before me now looked emaciated, making her seem about 60 years old though she should only be around 45. Then, without being asked, Mom began to talk about her current situation. While in prison, Mom had fallen in love with a guard, but after being rejected and still nursing her broken heart, she was released. She had wanted to come to pick me up right after getting out, but she didn't know where Hannah's house was, and those who knew about Mom's case wouldn't tell her. Wandering the streets at night in despair, Mom stumbled upon a pub and ended up going inside. There, she got to drinking with a man in the pub who
had a hard time, didn't you? You did well,
offered her kind words, fulfilling her need for validation, and she became infatuated with him. Subsequently, Mom contributed money to the man, accruing debt. Realizing she was in trouble, Mom concocted a plan to claim I was sick and extort money from Dad's relatives, whom she despised. Her plan seemed to be working until I interfered, and now she was living a life on the run from the relatives she had deceived. After sharing her story,
Since you ruined my plan, it's your responsibility to hide me. You're an adult now, right? Think of it as repaying me, and work from morning to night to support me.
Mom made an outrageous request. Moreover, Mom was utterly confident I wouldn't refuse her request, which was truly disgusting. So,
the only mom I have is Hannah, not you, so forget about getting any favors from me,
I told her. Then, filled with anger, Mom retorted,
it's your fault I've been unhappy all this time. Who do you think raised you to be this big?
As she tried to lunge at me, hurling insults. Fortunately, there were other people around who quickly restrained her as a dangerous person. Thanks to a bystander who called the police, Mom was taken away by the authorities. Afterward, I reported what had happened to Hannah, who immediately informed Dad's relatives that Mom had been found. Thanks to that, Mom was caught by Dad's relatives. They tried to sue her to get their money back, but it had all been spent on dates with the man, leaving almost nothing. So, the relatives forced Mom, much to her dismay, to take on debt to repay them. Finding no choice but to borrow from illegal lenders due to her unemployment, leaving her to pay off her debts with high interest by working nights. Because of this, I can enjoy my university life without fear of being threatened by Mom. Rumor has it that Scarlett surely won't ignore me in this dire situation. She will come to rescue me. Mom still laments. But I no longer think of Mom as my mother, so I won't be coming to get her.